were active in the infiltration of many cultural groups. Before we go into that step by step, how much research and study did the FBI engage in of black culture in the late 60s?
A great amount.
Give me an idea.
From the thing is, they have a file on every type of magazine that blacks read. They have a file on the music.
Music?
Music, dance, theater, actors, comedians, you name it, man.
And they would actually study these different...
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely.
What would they do with music?
To understand the people, you have to understand the culture. To infiltrate, you have to understand. You had a lot of so-called white liberals that were infiltrating the so-called black groups using the information that they had gathered from the studies of blacks.
You mean just to understand the behavior pattern of our people?
Oh, yeah, I can, Will Heaton could name out some jams of Miles Davis that I hadn't even heard of. He could name off some books that I hadn't even read pertaining to black culture.
Do you ever see agents actually studying the music of...
Yes, yes. Yes, I've seen them going over even video portion of cultural events.
We've seen a number of investigations into the assassination of Martin Luther King. We've seen an extended police trial of the assassination of Malcolm X. What you seem to say substantiates what many black people say out on the street, that government agents or agencies knew that these assassinations were brewing and either participated in them or allowed them to take place.
It would behoove black people, it would behoove all people, really, to question so-called the cut and dry one lone assassin theory. The Bureau and other intelligence agencies are very good at conspiracies. They are very good at setting people up to be killed. They are very good at making innuendos so the person will be killed.
City police don't know about it because they have policemen in there. They don't let black people form anything without some policemen in there. And while I was in the black Muslim movement, over the black Muslim movement, many of the police who were sent to infiltrate us, they're black, would tell me, say, look, I'm a cop, but I have to come. They would tell me. I knew the Muslim movement was full of police. So don't you think anything is going down that they don't know about? The only thing that goes down is what they want to go down. And what they don't want to go down, they don't let it go down.
I want to share something with you. Like the masses, I was in awe when I first laid eyes on all the things you are. I heard that speech. I knew we'd make noise. I just thought it'd be in the streets.
The Black Panthers are the single greatest threat to our national security. Our counterintelligence program must prevent the rise of a black messiah.
You're looking at 18 months for the stolen car, 5 years for impersonating a federal officer, or you can go home. Or you can go home. What do you want? Get close to Hampton.
The Black Panthers are forming a rainbow coalition of oppressed brothers and sisters of every color.
Now, equality is an illusion. We know in history that there was no such thing as equality. The Bible or the scriptures even tell us there's always a head and there's a tail in society. And when we realize that there is no such thing as equality, why do you want to be equal with your oppressors if they are oppressing you?
Neutralize him by any means necessary.
America's on fire right now. And until that fire is extinguished, nothing else means a damn thing. Imagine what we could accomplish together. We can heal this whole city.
And once we realize that we were put on this earth as fleshly manifestations of the celestial sphere of the angels, that's why in the scriptures, I think it's Psalms 82, it refers to as ye are gods, which means we're judges. We're supposed to teach the other nations and rule over them, rulership. But our people being at a low estate and all the different belief and spirituality and whatnot, but there is a commonality with all the different spirituality and so forth, even with the Kemetic brothers and whatnot. The other nations know that we're gods/judges.
You ain't tell me it was gonna be like this. These ain't no terrorists. These ain't no terrorists. These ain't no terrorists.
We educate, we nurture, we feed, and we lobby.
We got a rat, man.
Does anybody else know about me?
No one knows your identity.
Are you sure?
Perhaps we're here for more than just war with these bodies. We scream, and we shout, and we live by this anthem. But is power to the people really worth their ransom?
When I dedicated my life to people, I dedicated my life.
You get to go out there and talk about dying a revolutionary death because you don't have another person growing inside your body.
Anywhere there's people, there's power.
What is a Messiah biblically? Messiah or Mashiach, anointed one. The basic meaning of the Hebrew Mashiach or HaMashiach in the Greek Christos is anointed one. In the Old Testament, the word is used of prophets, priests, and kings who were consecrated to their office with oil. And we see this in the Old Testament. There were many anointed ones, including Saul, David, Solomon, the Levite priest, Aaron, his sons. So it was a ritual and it was a custom to anoint with oil. You can find that in Psalms 23:5. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over.
What magic a Philistine and a poet could create.
1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 15 and 16. Now the Most High told Samuel in his ear a day before Saul came, saying, Tomorrow about this time I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be captain over my people Israel, that he may save my people out the hand of the Philistines. For I have looked upon my people, because their cry is come unto me. So Fred Hampton is playing a King David archetype, a Messiah. And we know that King David was anointed with a flask of oil to his head by the prophet Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 1. So I'm going to be reading from the Apocrypha, which was in the 1611 King James Version Bible. This is one of my favorite verses, Judith 9:11. You know, 9:11 means emergency. For thy power standeth not in the multitude, nor thy might in strong men. For thou art a God of the afflicted, a helper of the oppressed, an upholder of the weak, a protector of the forlorn, a savior of them that are without hope. Now we know the Most High heard his people. He heard their frequency, their hearts, they were sincere. And he sent King David, the Messiah, to deliver his people. No different than Fred Hamilton. He was a Messiah type figure. His voice, like he said, you can kill the revolutionists, but you can't kill the revolution.
Counterintelligence program must prevent the rise of a black Messiah.
Psalms chapter 2, verse 1-3. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Most High and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands, slander, and cast away their cords from us. So the Most High's chosen people, which are the Israelites, his people, the so-called African Americans, we all have a voice, and the Most High has a frequency, and that's that oneness when we unite. But as you can see in the movie, they don't want so-called black people to unite. The so-called black people have voices to unite the people like a Messiah. That's why they're scared, and that's why a lot of the killings took place, from Malcolm X to Martin Luther King to Fred Hampton to Nat Turner. It's that frequency, that energy to galvanize people. Upon closing out, I like to say that, there's a lot of subliminal messages in here from the Freemasonry, the government, the crooked cops. But you see that when a so-called black man is in his right mind, knowledge of self, is conscious, he's trying to uplift his people, and he's deemed as a threat to society. He's a separatist, and I'm gonna go back to the Herschel Walker. I mean, he had the nerve to sit there and say that when blacks get reparations, that equals separatist. But he doesn't realize that different groups got reparations, but are they considered separatist? So why is it that when the so-called black people come together, that's a no-go? They don't want that to happen. And look at history with the Black Wall Street of Tulsa and many other stories in history. But that town was bombed by the government. The typical story about the white girl. She got raped by a black man, and he started bombing that city and shooting and killing. And now they want to try to uncover it and teach it. It's a joke. It's just too much innocent blood on America's soil. But peace and shalom.
Me disagree with them violently, and they set up this problem in order to exploit me and other people like me. And why they want to get rid of me? Because I'm saying something that might wake up some other exploited people and some other oppressed people. And if all these people ever get together, then these pigs that are exploiting us, we'll be able to run them into the lake. That's why they want to get rid of us.
Before closing this video, I'd like to add that one aspect of Tulsa or Black Wall Street, one common thing was that the people understood the patriarchy of how a civilization, town, or society works. You have to have strong men, and you have to have a backbone. Okay? And all through history it teaches us that men, strong men, built societies and were the cornerstones of the community, not the so-called black woman. And no disrespect to the so-called black woman, but the head of a house is a man, not a woman. And the government strategically did this throughout the 60s, 70s, replacing the so-called black man with the government. The government is the daddy now. You look at the social worker and all the different aspects of it.
The social worker's here. Oh, shit. Honey, get rid of the TV and hide.
Social worker.
Well, don't just stand there, honey. Let her in.
Miss Kavak.
Hi, kid. Hi, you, Miss Kavak.
I'm fine. How are you, Mrs. Price?
Oh, just fine. Fine. But, they haven't sent me the authorization to buy the food stamps for the past 6 months. And then they cut me off for non-purchase. Now, Miss Kavak, why do they keep messing with me all the time?
The system's one big screw-up.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say it, because no one...
You're the gentleman that's been keeping company here.
Oh, no, ma'am. I'm just the garbage man.
Oh, well, may I have your name, please?
Simpson.
First name?
That's my first name.
Oh, your surname?
X.
Simpson X what?
Simpson X. That's it. You've heard of Malcolm X. I'm Simpson X. Say, listen, I want to ask you something. You're supposed to give aid to dependent children, right? Well, why don't you just go ahead and give aid to the dependent children instead of worrying about who the mother's keeping company with?
Oh, let me straighten you out on something, Mr. X. There was a time we'd ask to use a bathroom to see if there was a razor in the cabinet. We don't do that anymore. But we do have to know what's going on. But you live here or elsewhere. Is that a gift you're giving to the family? Do you contribute to the support of this whole family?
Whoa, lady. You gonna tell her she can have this set? It didn't cost you in the city a damn dime, but you gonna tell her she can have it, right?
Oh, I didn't make the rules, sir. I'm only doing my job.
The welfare ain't doing nothing for me, lady.
But the welfare is supporting Mrs. Price.
Supporting? Supporting shit. Yeah, he gave me this. He gave me this. Yes, he gave it to me. Then he gave me this. Now we have to hide this shit. Do you believe? Yes, he gave me this. We have to hide this.
He gave us this too, but it don't work.
That's right. And I have to hide my man in the toilet. Miss Quebec, do you hide your man in the toilet?
Mrs. Price, we want to help, believe me. We know that children need a man in the house, a woman needs a man in the house. We don't insist people be married.
Do you mean you'd help a man move in if he's not married to the mother?
That's right.
That's immoral.
We're trying to deal with the realities.
What kind of example is that to set for the children?
Oh, what kind of example are you setting right now?
I ain't the government.
We'd love to see you get married.
Yeah, I'm hip. You would. They would take the government off the hook and put me on. You would. They would take the government off the hook and put me on. That's me, no more question.
And them trying to feminize and promote anarchy with the different agendas through the Luciferians and so forth. But that one aspect of these different so-called black towns is that they understood who they were or who they are, and they put the Most High first. Now we can debate whether it was if they knew that they were the so-called people of the book, but look how they flourished. But peace and shalom.